listening to the Positive Professional Podcast with your host, me, Tracy Yvonne. This podcast is a weekly conversation about all things mental health, self-care, and wellness. And there'll be sprinkles of positivity, mindfulness, and guided meditations. Welcome back to Season 6, Episode 7. And today I'm diving into a fascinating psychological phenomenon, the Stroop Effect, and exploring what it tells us about mental health, cognitive control, emotional regulation, and stress management. If you've ever felt mentally exhausted from juggling tasks, struggled with focus under stress, or found it difficult to control emotional reaction, today's episode will offer insights into why our brains sometimes work against us and what we can do about it. So I'm going to start with the basics. What is the Stroop Effect? Well, it's a cognitive phenomenon that demonstrates interference in our brain's processing ability. It was named after psychologist John Riley Stroop, who first described it in 1935. The Stroop test involves looking at words that spell out colors, like red or blue, but they are printed in incongruent colors. So the word red might be printed in green, and the word blue might be printed in yellow ink. Your task is to name the ink color, not the word. Sounds easy, right? But in reality, it's surprisingly difficult because your brain has to suppress the automatic urge to read the word instead of focusing on the ink color. This interference happens because our automatic processing, or reading, clashes with our controlled processing, naming the color, which requires more effort. Now, why does this matter for our mental health? Well, the Stroop Effect is an incredible tool for understanding cognitive control, which is the brain's ability to regulate attention, manage conflicting information, resist distractions, and switch between tasks efficiently. For people with anxiety, depression, PTSD, or ADHD, these functions can be impaired, making it harder to stay focused, shift attention, or regulate emotions. So let's break this down a little further. If you struggle with anxiety, your brain is already on high alert, scanning for potential threats when faced with conflicting information, like the Stroop task or even daily stressors. Your cognitive resources become overloaded. This is why anxious individuals often find it harder to filter out negative thoughts, shift attention away from worries, and make decisions under stress. The more anxious you are, the greater interference in tasks requiring cognitive control. For those with depression, cognitive slowing is a common symptom. This means tasks that required effort, like overriding automatic responses in the Stroop test, can feel even more draining. There's research that shows that depressed individuals take longer to process conflicting information and may struggle with decision fatigue and mental fog. For people with PTSD, their attentional system is constantly hijacked by trauma-related triggers. If someone with PTSD takes a Stroop test where certain words are emotionally triggering, their reaction times slow down because their brain prioritizes survival mode over cognitive control. This explains why emotional regulation is harder for trauma survivors, because their brain struggles to filter out what's emotionally significant versus what's just neutral background noise. And I'm going to share more in the next segment. the Stroop Effect into real-life mental health challenges. Have you ever tried to focus on work, but your brain keeps replaying a stressful conversation? Found yourself emotionally drained after a day of decision-making? Or had trouble switching gears when juggling different tasks? That's your brain struggling with cognitive control, similar to the interference in a Stroop task. A classic example. Picture this. You're busy at work, and all of a sudden you get a very stressful text message. Now your brain wants to focus on doing your work, which is task number 1. But now it's processing the emotional weight of the text, which is task 2. If you glance at your phone, you're engaging cognitive switching, which increases reaction time and mistakes, just like the Stroop test. This is why mental fatigue sets in when we multitask, and why stress makes it hard for us to focus. If the Stroop effect shows us how our brains struggle with attention, how can we improve our mental processing and emotional regulation? So here are some evidence-based strategies. First is mindful meditation. Mindfulness helps train your brain to filter distractions and reduce emotional interference. Practice breath awareness can improve focus and attention shifting. And studies show that mindfulness enhances cognitive control, making it easier to resist distractions like ignoring intrusive thoughts. Cognitive training, also known as brain exercises. Try Stroop-like tasks in everyday life, like focusing on one task at a time. Play brain games that challenge cognitive flexibility. And stress management techniques. Deep breathing exercises can regulate the nervous system, and progressive muscle relaxation reduces tension, improving focus. Then there's also reducing multitasking. Your brain isn't meant to handle multiple high-stake tasks at once. Instead of multitasking, try time blocking. An example of this is working for 30 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break. You can also reduce distractions by working in short and focused intervals. Next is emotion regulation strategies. Label your emotions. Study shows that naming feelings, for an example could be, I feel anxious right now, reduces their intensity. Use cognitive framing to change how you interpret stress. An example of this could be, this challenge is tough, but I can manage it. So what have we learned today? The Stroop effect reveals how our brains process information and why cognitive control matters for mental health. Anxiety, depression, PTSD, and ADHD can all impact how we filter distractions and manage conflicting information. In training mindfulness, cognitive exercises, stress management, and emotion regulation can improve focus, resilience, and mental well-being. So the next time you find yourself overwhelmed, distracted, or emotionally drained, remember your brain is working hard behind the scenes. Give yourself grace, practice cognitive flexibility, and focus on what truly matters. Thanks for listening and supporting this podcast. And make sure you're clicking the like and subscribe button. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Stay safe, be well, and don't forget to be the best version of you.